Hey guys, today I'll be teaching you how to play chess. So if you don't know how to play chess, then I'll be teaching you how the pieces move. But if you know how the pieces move, then I think you should go to my other videos that I'll be making in the future. So yeah, let's get started. So we'll start with the pawns because it's the easiest. So pawns are only worth 1 point. And the pawn can only move one step forward and cannot go backwards. So if you go on the end of the board, it can promote into anything, starting with a queen, rook, knight, or a bishop. It cannot promote into a king because the king can only have one king on the board. So yeah, and the pawn can only capture diagonally. So let's say, oh wait, there you go. Click there. So like, if it's like this, the white pawn can capture the black pawn, and the black pawn can capture the white pawn. So let's say the white captures the black. So it can capture diagonally. It cannot move diagonally. It will only move forward one space. But if the pawn's on the second file or the seventh file and it hasn't moved at all yet, the pawn's first move can move 2 spaces. After that, it can only move 1. So now let's start on knights because it's not an easy piece to know. Knights can only move in the L. So when a knight moves in the L, the knight only it goes 1, 2 squares in front of it, and then 1 to the left or the right. Like 1, 2 in front of it, and then 1 to the left or the right. And then it can also only capture in the L. Let's say the knight's like right here. So it's in the L, so the knight can capture that knight. So whatever's in range of the L, the knight can capture L. So that's how the knights move. Now let's start on the bishops. It's not an easy piece. So the bishop a very strong piece. So yeah, the knights are 3 points as well, and the bishops are also 3 points. I forgot to mention that when I was talking about the knights. So bishops only move diagonally. So if the bishop's on the light square, then it stays on the light square forever. It cannot go on the dark square. And the dark square bishop, it can only stay on the dark square. And the bishops are also worth 3 points. Now the next piece is the rook. The rook are normally in the corner of the board. And since the rooks are in the corner of the board, and most likely gonna come out when all pieces are developed in the game. And which I'll be showing you in the game against a bot after this in a bit. And it can only move sideways or forward. It cannot go through any piece. So it can only move horizontal or vertical. So that kind of shows you how the rook moves. And it also captures horizontally or vertically. And the rooks are worth 5 points. And the queen. The queen is the most powerful piece on the board. It has the power of the bishop and the rook. So it can capture diagonally like this, or you can capture like just sideways, vertical, or horizontal. So yeah, it's gonna move like this. It can only move in a diagonal, straight line, horizontal, or vertical. It cannot move like a knight. because the queen is only connected by a rook and a bishop. Together makes that queen. So diagonal, vertical, horizontal. Last but not least, the king. The king is the most important piece in chess, and the king can only move one square around it. And the king is not worth any points because it cannot be taken. Because if anything's attacking it, like let's say a rook's like right here, attacking it, the king has to move. The king cannot just ignore it and just come here, because it cannot be captured. The king is not allowed to be captured because it's the most important piece in the game, and it cannot move into any capture zone. So let's say the king is here and the rook's here. The king cannot move up here. It cannot go in any place that can be captured. Like even the bishop, it's here. The king cannot move into it because you cannot move into anything that can be like that can take the king, like you know, like a piece that's controlling the square. Let's say the king cannot go there, or else it'll be captured. So yeah, that's all the pieces and how they move. The setup position on how games are supposed to be would be like right here. So I think you all know how the pieces move. So I think I'll play against a bot. So let's go with a beginner bot to show you how it works. So let's go with this. So I'm gonna play a white. So most likely the pawns will be on the second file or the 7th file, and if you haven't moved the pawns, which means they will be on the 2nd or 7th file, when you start moving it, you can go 2 squares forward. If you already moved it, then you cannot, move the pieces or the pawn 2 squares like that. You can't just go here to this square like this and do that also. You gotta, if you wanna go here, you gotta move it 1 space and then that. So after you move the pawn, you cannot move 2 space again. And the knight, it moves in the L, so we just put the knight out in the game. Which, when you play chess, you want to develop all your pieces, like the bishop, the knights, just develop it out. The knights just like go right on to the c3 and f3 is the most active. There is a very strong knight on those squares. It controls more squares, more in the middle, because on the side it controls like 4 squares. That's not a lot. So you always want to develop your knight into a center and your bishop. You should always develop your knights and the bishops first, and don't put your queen out too early. But if someone wants the Damiano defense, like now I'm gonna teach you how to go against it, which is when you attack their pawn, they go f6, which is a very bad move, because all you do is to sacrifice a knight and take the pawn. And yes, a knight is worth more than a pawn. A pawn is 1 point, and a knight is 3 points. So you think it's a bad trade, but you actually attack the king more. So after they take you back, you go queen h5 check. If they block with the pawn, it's a blunder, and you win a rook. Because all you gotta do is take this pawn, and you win a rook, which is 5 points. And yeah, if you want to win a chess game, you have to develop your pieces first, but don't put your queen out too early. But it kind of depends on this on a scenario you're in. Like, if your opponent blunders and your queen can come out and, you know, win, then it's okay to put your queen out early because you're gonna win, and you just want to win. Because in chess, you gotta checkmate your opponent's king to win, and you gotta capture as much piece as possible. So if your opponent blunders, and you can attack their king with your queen, even though it has to come out early, it can just come out early. You just start attacking it. Like, see, the bishop's attacking the king, so the king has to move or use a piece to block the check. And so that the knight has to come block it. Which, now, since they kind of blundered in the opening, the king's not very safe. And now sometimes you gotta look for checkmate threats like this, because when you cannot capture the king, but when you checkmate, it's when you just kind of trap the king, and the king's in check, which means it has a threat of being taken or captured, and it has nowhere to go. And that's checkmate. So I show you here, the king is in check by the queen, and they cannot go anywhere because they can only move one step to the side, or like to the side diagonally, just anywhere around the king. So the king can go in these squares one step, but he cannot go 2 steps. And the king cannot capture the queen because it's protected by the bishop, which means this is checkmate, because the king has no legal squares to go to. So yes, this is how chess works and how the pieces move. If you enjoyed or found this helpful, please tell me in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.